Welcome to Disney Coast to Coast. If you haven't done so yet, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to tap that bell icon to be notified every time a new video is released. Thanks!
Do you dream of fairies and princesses? Then you've come to the right place. Welcome to Disney Coast to Coast.
Hey folks, and welcome to Disney Coast to Coast, the ultimate unofficial Disney fan podcast. I'm Jeff DePaoli, and today on the show I have a very special guest co-host by the name of Patrick Hinds, who is one of the greatest podcast producers and hosts out there. You might know him from shows like Theater People, or True Crime Obsessed, or the official Disney on Broadway podcast, and my personal favorite, Broadway Backstory. Welcome to the show, Patrick.
Hi! Oh my goodness, thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting. I make so many podcasts. I never get to be a guest on a podcast.
Oh, well, I'm so excited to have you. I truly, truly love your podcast. And Broadway Backstory is for anybody out there listening who is a musical theater fan or a Broadway fan or a theater fan in general, listen to Patrick Hinds' podcast. Broadway Backstory especially is so interesting to me because, you know, you take a show from my favorite thing, the creative process, from the very beginning where it's just a nugget of an idea to the very end where it gets to Broadway. And the thing that your show does is, obviously, there's the shows that I love that you have episodes about that is great to listen to. Mm-hmm. But then there's the shows that, like, I had no interest seeing. Yeah. And then I listened to your show and I'm like, I have to see that show.
It's so funny because there's shows that we've made episodes about that I didn't love, you know, that like I wasn't all that interested in. And those usually end up being the ones that are the most interesting to me to make because I know the least about them. And so I'm like, wow, I'm really like learning. Yeah. Anyway, so thank you for all that nice stuff that you said. Yeah,
the one that comes to mind for me really is Come From Away.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I don't know, it never really piqued my interest. And then I just listened to that episode and I was like, holy moly, I need to see this show.
I mean, the thing about that show is like, it's just like a little magical slice of musical theater heaven. And like, you know, the backstory to it is so amazing and everybody involved is like still so enthusiastic about telling the story. So we were able to get, you know, for anybody who doesn't know, it's the story about these 38 planes that got diverted to Gander, Newfoundland on 9/11. And they were stranded there for, I think, 5 days. And it's a story about how this town took care of these people. And like, you know, so because people still love telling the story so much, we were able to talk to the real life people that these characters are based on, and then all of the creative team members that sort of made the story happen. So it was when I sat down to edit that, I'm like, this is going to be 29 hours long. There's no way this isn't going to be 29 hours long.
How do you guys decide what shows you're going to focus on with that series?
You know, it's always a matter of like, the first season we kind of just picked I kind of just picked the shows that I liked and I really wanted to do, and then we saw what people responded to and we tried to do more shows like that. So you know, people really respond to the shows that are newer or you know, things that are either like still running or were like running recently, and so we tried to focus a little bit more on like newer stuff, but we also, you know, try to have like a throwback in there as well.
Yeah, how did you get involved with the Disney on Broadway podcast? Because that's another great one.
Yeah, thanks. It was really funny. I have a business where I have a company where we make branded podcasts for companies, and I really wanted to work with Disney. Like my big idea was to make a podcast about Frozen, like Frozen coming to Broadway and all of that. And it turns out the Lopez's were also really interested in doing something like that. Disney. So I have a friend who works at Disney. I took the idea to him. He's like, this is a great idea. Let me take it to my bosses. And then I came in for a meeting, and Disney was a little bit more interested in making a podcast that was more about the shows that were currently running. And then they were sort of like, we'll see with Frozen when that happens. And so it just became a conversation about like, how do we sort of celebrate the shows that are running right now, and maybe try to tell a different story, or like tell a story in a different way that hasn't already been written about The Lion King or Aladdin. And that was how that happened. They were really interested and I was really interested, and it just kind of happened like magically. It was really, really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, today on the show, we're going to do which let me tell you, this is a difficult task for me. I don't know about you. But we're doing, since we're big theater fans, a top 10 countdown of our favorite songs from Disney Theatrical productions. So let's jump into today's Disney dialogue right now.
It's time to dive into today's Disney dialogue.
So, Patrick, why don't we start with your number 10 on your list?
All right, so I have to preface this whole list by saying that, like, I'm a little bit basic, and also there are definitely, like, Disney shows I have no time for. So you're not going to be hearing about Tarzan, you're not going to be hearing about Beauty and the Beast, but we're going to get really into the other ones.
Okay, wait a second. Why do you have no time for Beauty and the Beast?
I don't know. It just wasn't that interesting to me. And I went back through in preparation for this, and I was like, okay, I'm going to, like, re-listen to that cast album. And, like, it just didn't really, I don't know. Honestly, the Disney shows that I love are the ones where I can, like, take certain songs and go to the gym and, like, go crazy. It's all about, like, the skrelting, screaming diva ladies, basically.
All right, we're gonna have very different lists. I'm excited about this.
Yeah. So, okay, my number 10 is not that. It is Friend Like Me from Aladdin. Mm-hmm. And the reason, I know it's a basic choice, but James Monroe Iglehart, who won the Tony Award for that role, is so masterful. This man is, like, such an incredible performer that to hear the song is one thing, but to see James do the number, I mean, literally I sat there in the theater with my jaw on the floor. And he was, like, 2 years into his run, and it was like it was the first night. It is absolutely the most magnificent thing to watch him do that song.
I actually just saw the tour last night, the first national tour at the Pantages Theater. So I just saw the show for the very first time last night. Like I said, we're going to have a very different list here.
It's funny because Adam Jacobs, who originated the role of Aladdin on Broadway, is headlining the tour. So you're seeing the original. He's
doing it here, and I think the original Jasmine is here as well.
Courtney Reed, is she? I know she's not in the Broadway company anymore, so that would be amazing.
I think she is. I don't know the name, but I'm pretty sure I read that the girl I saw last night was the original. So.
Oh, wow.
So my number 10 is kind of random, but it's from Aida.
Uh-huh.
And the song is The Past is Another Land, which is
God, yes.
Aida's introduction song. The performance by Heather Headley on the cast album is phenomenal. Now, I do have a question for you that you might know.
Yeah.
Do you know how Aida came about for Disney Theatrical? Because it's kind of a weird choice. This was their third show. There was Beauty and the Beast, followed by Lion King, followed by Aida. And I have two theories.
Okay.
One theory is that maybe with Lion King, Elton John was like, I don't want to rehash something, but I'll make you a deal. Mm-hmm. If I do Lion King for you, will you let me do this pet project of mine, Aida? So that's one theory. The other theory is maybe Disney Theatrical was like, you know what, especially after the success of The Lion King, we need to be taken seriously, and we can't just be doing our animated films into stage. So, I don't know. Do you know?
I actually don't know. I remember there was a concept album that came out a couple years before the Broadway show that had, like, the Spice Girls and I think Tina Turner. Maybe I'm making up the Tina Turner part, but there was definitely a concept album. Like, NSYNC was on it, and it did really
Where do
well.
we get that album?
I'm sure you can get it on iTunes. I'm sure you can. If not, like, eBay or something crazy. But I don't. I will say Aida, I have a lot of Aida on my list. And it was the first show that I saw. It was like one of the first shows I saw in New York over and over and over and over again.
Wow, we're gonna have such a different list. I'm excited for this. To be honest, I'm not a massive fan of the show. But there are definitely musical moments that I love.
I totally agree. Yeah.
And as I said, Heather Headley's voice is just like, wow.
I know. Her voice is like, it's really, and seeing her do it live, I remember the first time I saw it, we got to intermission, and I called my mother, and I was like, Mom, you need to come down, and, like, I don't care how you get here, when you, like, you have to come see the show. You're not going to believe this.
Cool. So, what's your number 9?
Okay, number 9 again is a little bit basic, but it's Poor Unfortunate Souls, and it's mostly because I am obsessed with Sherry Renee Scott, and, like, I remember her doing this role, and I just love it. I just love her.
Patrick, we have the most opposite taste in the world.
I'm dying to know what your number 9 is.
Oh goodness. Well. I can't. Okay, Ursula's my favorite character. So, like, it's like her and Mickey Mouse are my favorite Disney characters. So,
do you know that Pat Carroll lived like 5 minutes from my mother's house? They were friends.
Really?
Yeah, on Cape Cod.
That's funny. I did not know that. But yeah. Oh goodness, that portrayal of Ursula it hurt my soul a little bit.
No.
It did. I honestly was always rooting for her, and I was so happy when I heard Alan Menken say this. I've always wanted Harvey Fierstein to play that role.
Oh my God, that is genius.
Yeah, and Alan Menken in an interview said he wanted that because they were going to do that Little Mermaid live thing on ABC.
That's right.
And I believe it was a conversation about that, and he just mentioned, he goes, I want Harvey Fierstein. I'm like, yes. Like, Harvey Fierstein, Liza Minnelli, or B. Arthur would have been my choices.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. I mean, Sherry Renee Scott, of course, off of, like, her big success with Aida, I think she was, like, I think that Disney likes to do this. I think they like to work with people that they've worked with and they know, and she's a big star, and, you know, I don't know. I just love Sherry Renee Scott so much that I love that song.
All right. Well, my number 9 heads over to a show it sounds like you're not a big fan of, Tarzan. Which I've honestly never seen a production of. I would like to. I wish I had seen it when it was on Broadway, but it didn't last all that long.
Yep.
The song is I Need to Know, which is different from the Jekyll and Hyde I Need to Know. but the actor singing it on the cast album is Alex Rutherford, and this is young Tarzan. And the first lyric of the song is, will someone tell me where I belong? And it's this beautiful song about, like, self-doubt, and he's got such a gentle, angelic voice that, I don't know, it's just a very sweet, sweet song, in my opinion. And
yeah. I remember seeing Tarzan on Broadway. I actually really liked it. I thought the spectacle of it was beautiful. I had a friend who was in it, and I really liked Tarzan. It just, the music never really, it wasn't one of those where I was like, I have to run home and get this album like today.
Yeah, no, I get that, but it's just it seems like a simple song. Of course, no song is ever really simple.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know, and his voice, that young boy's voice is. Yeah. I always get sad when I hear like a young boy with such a beautiful voice because I'm like, oh, sweetie, that ain't gonna last.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, your number 8.
My number 8 is "They Live in You" from The Lion King.
Okay.
So the reason I love this song, so when I was in high school, when I was between my junior and senior years, I went to a summer theater program at Walnut Hill in Natick, Massachusetts. And the audition song the dance audition was I Just Can't Wait to Be King. And then The Lion King, I think, was out that summer. And we went to see it in the movie theater. And then I went home, and there was an album called Rhythm of the Pride Lands that was music inspired by the Lion King movie. And this was the song. It was called He Lives in You, I think is the name of the song from that album. And I just remember being obsessed with it and like listening to it over and over and over again. And then when they made the musical, they included it in the musical, and I love it. I love it.
That's one of the cool things that Disney does with their musicals is they tend to take, obviously they write some new music for them, but they also take like their background score and will add lyrics to it, or like you said, some songs inspired by the musical, and they'll put those in, which I think is cool. And I actually think the opposite happened with Lion King for one of their like direct-to-video sequels. I think they put... was it He Lives in You? One of the songs from the musical ended up in one of those direct-to-video sequels.
Oh, wow.
The
Lion King has all of that. I remember when I was doing the Lion King episode of the official Disney on Broadway podcast, I used a lot of their like interstitial music that they have in the show for the like underscoring in the episode. And it was amazing. The music in the Lion King is just incredible.
Yeah, that's the first show I ever saw on Broadway.
Oh, wow.
So I think it was within its first year on Broadway, and it was at the New Amsterdam at the time, and that was like a huge deal going to see that. And Sam Wright, the voice of Sebastian, was Mufasa. Like,
that's right.
That's a show that like I can vividly remember within like the first minute. Just Circle of Life. Yeah, you just get the chills.
Yeah. Oh my God, yes.
It's a show it's funny because like Phantom of the Opera now, you go to New York and it's just not Broadway without Lion King running. Yep. And in fact, I feel like I saw a documentary recently of Carol Channing, and they were driving through Broadway, and she saw a big Lion King billboard, and she's like, "Is that show still running?"
You do an impeccable Carol Channing.
Oh, well, thank you. The best Carol Channing impersonator, I think, is Harvey Fierstein.
Of course.
Have you ever heard his Carol?
Of course. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Fantastic. But so Lion King has a very, very special place in my heart. And it's one of those things that it's a show that I keep saying, of course, when I'm in New York, which isn't all that often anymore, I I'm always want to see like stuff I haven't seen before.
Yeah.
But I'll always be like, God, I should go see Lion King again because
it's incredible. Actually, I've never seen it here. I saw it in London, and I just loved it. I mean, it's just so magical.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a phenomenal show. My number, we're on 8 now, right? Is from The Little Mermaid. And the song is Her Voice. Oh my goodness, her voice, sung by Sean Palmer, is now the beginning melody is so nice because it's part of your world, essentially.
Yeah.
And then it leads into this new song, a song for Prince Eric, who, you know, arguably is one of the most popular Disney princes, who's never had a song before.
That's right.
So, like, it's so great that he finally has a song in this musical, and he has the last note of that song is so great. It starts off super soft and then gets really powerful and loud by the end, and there's just some nice vocal control in there that I love. Never saw Did you see Little Mermaid on Broadway?
I did, yeah.
Because of Sherry Renee.
Of course. And of course, Sierra Boggess has become like a big friend of all of my podcasts. And like, I'm in awe of her. Sierra Boggess, you know, she was discovered for that role. And her voice is just, I mean, if you guys don't know Sierra Boggess, like look her up on YouTube. She's just like the most incredible singer. She's amazing.
Yeah, no, she was doing Phantom for a while in Vegas, wasn't she?
Yeah, she did it kind of everywhere. She went to London and did Love Never Dies, which is the sequel.
Okay,
and then she came back to Broadway and did Phantom for the 25th anniversary with Norm Lewis. And then she did it. Yeah, she did both regular Phantom and Love Never Dies, sort of like around for a while.
Cool. So, who do you have for number 7?
All right, number 7. Number 7 is Not Me from Aida. And
I love that song.
I love it so much because it's one of the only times in the show, really the only time in the show that Heather Headley and Sherry Renee Scott sing harmony together. And it's so beautiful. I remember when I first got the album, I had like a Discman, and I used to skip to that part and just listen to it over and over and over and over again. And Adam Pascal, of course, Adam Pascal, you might know, was the original Roger in Rent on Broadway. He's got that like super like, you know, raspy, rocky voice. And just the three of them singing together in that song. I just remember when I first got that album listening to that song over and over and over again.
And then that fourth character in the Not Me, Not Me.
Yeah,
like,
he's
great.
And he's the one, he's like the little like assistant to Radames or whatever. And he's like talking about how like he can't believe he's changing. It's like the big like, it's Radames' big change song. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, I just saw Adam Pascal in what show is he on?
Something Rotten.
Something Rotten. Yeah, I just saw him in
good.
That. But yeah, Aladdin. I mean, not Aladdin. Aida has some just killer musical moments.
The music in Aida is just unbelievable. Some of the staging was a little bit cheesy, but like the actual music itself is just, I love it so much.
I remember being really like affected by, spoiler alert, at the end when the two leading characters die.
Oh yeah.
And the way that they did that, I saw the tour of it.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a different on Broadway, but they just like closed
the curtain.
They were like in a pyramid.
Yeah.
Sorts, and it just kept getting, the walls kept getting smaller and smaller, and the spotlights kept getting smaller and smaller. And it, like, even sitting in the audience, I was like, goodness, I'm starting to feel claustrophobic. And
yeah,
this is,
totally.
Like, it was just powerful.
A little bit of a backstory on that is that when they were in Atlanta, when they were doing their like out of town tryout, they had a much bigger set for the pyramid. Because when Act 2 opens and they're singing, are they singing? Whatever song they're singing at the opening of Act 2, it might be Not Me. I'm not sure if that's
Isn't that Not Me?
I think you're right. But it used to be this big actual pyramid, and then in the end, Aida and Radames would be in it, and it was on a platform like 15 feet in the air, and it fell, and they fell out of it. So they had to completely restage it for Broadway to like take that element out of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's dangerous.
I know.
Goodness. My number 7 is actually, now I made this list before I went to see Aladdin last night, but I will say this would still be this was my favorite moment in the show. And I'm not gonna lie, I cheated a little bit here because it's honestly 2 songs, but one leads into the other one. And my favorite song, even from the animated film, is the One Jump Ahead Reprise.
Yeah.
I love that. And in the stage musical, it leads into Proud of Your Boy.
Yes.
Which is like one of the best songs created.
Yeah.
And of course was cut from the animated film. And it's just one jump ahead reprise leading into Proud of Your Boy is to me the best moment in the musical.
Absolutely. That song, Proud of Your Boy, is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, the first time I heard that was actually at John Tartaglia's cabaret act he was doing in New York. Like, this was during the Avenue Q days, so it was at 04 or 05.
At Joe's Pub, I think.
Yes. I was there, and he sang that song, and I was like, what is this? And then I found out, this is a cut from Aladdin, and was like, I'm obsessed with this song. And of course it was kind of a secret for a long time, because really? You kind of had like be a real Disney or Aladdin fan to know, because it had been cut from the film.
Yep.
And now it being in the musical, everybody knows it, and I'm sure a lot of people don't even realize that it was written for the film.
Yep.
And Adam Jacobs performs it on the cast album, and it's beautiful.
So good.
Yeah, definitely my favorite. How about your number 6?
So number 6, again, is a little bit basic, but I had Circle of Life, because you can't ever, like, just that opening, the way that show opens, it really is magical. And I remember sitting in the theater with like all of the animals walking down the aisle. I remember actually, before I ever saw it, seeing it on the Tony Awards and watching the animals walk down the aisle and just sobbing like, oh my goodness. And I remember thinking too that was when I really thought of Disney as like a really artistically doing their Broadway work. Like, how much, how intricate and how authentic. When I got to interview a lot of the ladies from Lion King for the Disney podcast, I remember thinking, like, they were talking about how there's like 17 or 23 languages spoken in the musical, and like 4 or 5 of them are represented in that opening number, and it just is incredible. I mean, I just love it so much.
Yeah, Lion King is so much more than like a Disney musical.
Yeah,
that it's kind of like they really gave themselves some tough competition for themselves to like ever beat that.
Absolutely. One of the smartest things they did was getting Julie Taymor, the director, who, made her name for herself in the downtown New York scene as a puppet person. And they sort of like gave her this big, sort of venue and space to make this incredible, to just like, no cost spared, just like make the best work you can possibly make. And I mean, it's iconic. It always will be.
Yeah, it's I kind of keep waiting for that again with a Disney theatrical show, and I just haven't seen it. They're always good. They're always really well done.
Yeah.
But I'm like, when are we going to get like another Lion King?
I know. I mean, yeah.
I think the closest was Newsies, honestly, in my opinion.
Yeah, sure.
I thought that was brilliant. But yeah, good. Circle of Life, good choice.
Yeah.
Like it. And by the way, so far on our list, you have not hit any that are anywhere on my list.
That's so funny. I wonder if we will.
Yeah, this is interesting. Number 6 for me is from Mary Poppins. And this is the final. So tell me, was there an original Broadway cast recording? Because I know the original London cast recording, which is where the show originated.
I don't know the answer to that question. I'm not sure.
I don't think that there is. I think that there's the London cast recording, and then I think there's a few tracks out there, like a sampler type of thing for Broadway, but don't quote me on that. But in any case, on the London cast recording, it's the last track, and it's called A Spoonful of Sugar Reprise / A Shooting Star. And there's kind of a lot to this number, where it starts very soft and sweet, and then there's kind of a scene in the middle of it where the children are saying goodbye to Mary. But the thing that gets me with this track is this super, super powerful orchestra burst-like version of Let's Go Fly a Kite. That keeps getting bigger, and just when you think, oh, this is the end, it's not going to get any bigger, it gets bigger again.
I love that.
Yeah, I believe this is the moment when she flies out over the audience, is it not?
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yep.
Yeah, and that, like, I will say is such, it's funny, flying in theater has been around for a long time, and it's one of those things where, like, we're used to Peter Pan, we're used to seeing the strings, but it being theater, we're willing to suspend our disbelief with this. Now, with Mary Poppins, you don't see wire work.
I know. I used to say that when they were casting for Mary Poppins, like the casting notice read actresses that could fly, because you literally cannot see the strings. She's flying out over the audience, and at least when I saw it, I was like, she's flying. Like, she's definitely flying. I cannot. Yeah. There's no strings there.
I saw it at the New Amsterdam. I was like in the front of the mezzanine. And so, you know, she starts on the stage and then all of a sudden I'm actually getting chills thinking about this right now, but you just start hearing this super powerful orchestra and she just starts floating off the stage and then you're like, oh my God, she's like right in front of me in the mezzanine.
Yeah, totally.
It's a really, really, really well done flying effect.
Absolutely.
And, that must be fun to do 8 times a week. How do we get that gig?
I know. I know. The actress who originated the role, like ever, was Laura Michelle Kelly, who did it in London. And she was the 3rd Mary Poppins on Broadway. And she is now a big star here. And she's amazing. Like I've gotten to interview her a handful of times, and getting her to talk about Mary Poppins is just so fun because it's like just like the funnest job ever. Just what an amazing gig, you know?
Yeah. That's. Listen to that last track on Mary Poppins, guys, because you'll get the chills. One of the best, most impressive things about that musical is I'm blanking on the names. You might know them, but the people who came in to write new songs for the musical, which is a daunting task to you know, add music to the Disney legends, the Sherman Brothers. You cannot recognize what's a Sherman Brothers song and what's the new composers.
Yeah, that's so funny. I have no idea, but you're totally right about that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anywho, your number 5.
Okay, number 5 is a little inside baseball, but it's Letter from the Refuge from Newsies.
Yes!
Yeah, so Letter from the Refuge, for anybody who doesn't know, obviously was not in the original. So Newsies, the movie, the original, is like, I grew up on it. It's one of my favorite things of all time. I'm obsessed with it.
You're on the right show.
Yeah. Newsies, the musical, originally it wasn't supposed to come to Broadway. They were going to do it at Paper Mill in New Jersey, and then it was going to be licensed. And so I was afraid I was never going to get to see it, so I bought tickets. I went and saw the very first preview. And, you know, I haven't seen it since. I never did see it on Broadway. I was a little underwhelmed, not by the performances or anything. It just was, you know, like your favorite movie, seeing it on stage is always like a rough transition. But one of the characters I always thought I wanted more from was Crutchy. And Crutchy, you know, at one point gets sort of like taken off to what is called the Refuge, which is like basically like a detention home for homeless boys. And you kind of never hear from him again. And so even on Broadway, that was the case. And then when the show went on tour, they wrote this song for Crutchy. And I got to Andrew Keenan Bolger originated the role on Broadway, and then when they made the live filmed version of it, he went back into it, and so I got to interview him about it again, and so now like you're able to actually hear Andrew Keenan Bolger sing the song "Letter from the Refuge," which is just Crutchy talking about like missing his best friend Jack, and I just love it. I love Andrew Keenan Bolger. I think he's such a delicate actor, and I love this edition. I love that they wrote this song later.
So I can't believe you never saw it on Broadway.
I know, me either, but I didn't.
I saw it on Broadway because, like you, I'm obsessed with the movie.
Yeah.
And it was a show that, like, at intermission, I was like, this is literally one of the greatest shows I've ever seen in my entire life. And after seeing it, it was, as I was sitting there, I remember turning to my mom and looking at her at intermission and just going, Jeremy Jordan, a star is born.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
oh, for sure.
Holy crap. He is perfect for that role. It's insane.
It was funny because right at that same time, the same director, Jeff Calhoun, had done a Bonnie and Clyde.
He's been on this show.
Jeff has?
Disney.
Oh,
yeah.
I love Jeff. I love him so much.
I do as well.
And he directed Bonnie and Clyde, which was one of my favorite shows of all time. It was very short-lived, but when all of a sudden Newsies was coming to Broadway, before they knew Bonnie and Clyde was closing, they were like, what is Jeremy going to do? Is he going to stay as Clyde Barrow or is he going to go in as Jack Kelly? And it just ended up being perfect, because Laura Osnes, who played Bonnie, got nominated for her first Tony Award. And that same season, Jeremy got nominated for his first Tony Award for Newsies. It was just a very magical sort of kismet thing.
Yeah, I ended up buying a ticket immediately after seeing the show because I'm like, I need to see it again within its first year because I need to see Jeremy do this again.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he left to do Smash. So
right, of course.
I ended up seeing Corey Cott do it. But the live recording you were talking about,
yeah,
I was front row center.
Oh, where did they film that?
the Pantages.
They
Theater
did.
here in
Okay, yeah.
Hollywood.
I think
Yeah.
Jeff is such a genius, and I love his work. And I should have gone back to see it on Broadway because also the set designer Tobin Ost, I'm a huge fan of as well. And I just never made it back to see it, and I love that show so much.
I love it. Just to plug Disney Coast to Coaster, episode 335, guys. If you want to hear about all about Newsies and that live taping at the Pantages, check out episode 335 of Disney Coast to Coast.
Yes.
Now, that was your number 5, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so my number 5 is from Beauty and the Beast, which is Disney's first Broadway production, and the song is Home.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a beautiful song sung by Susan Egan, who Disney fans might know as Megara from Hercules. But it's so nice because I think people don't realize this, but when you watch the film of Beauty and the Beast, the original animated, Belle doesn't really have a song. She does sing, but she doesn't really have a song. And Home is her song.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's such a beautiful song. I was so angry when they cut it out of the live action film.
Yeah.
And it's funny, you know, maybe for vocal reasons it couldn't be done in the live action film. I don't know. But the thing, it's kind of a tease because in the background of the scene where that song should be and would fit beautifully in the film, they're playing the melody of Home.
Oh, funny.
And I'm like, really? You're going to tease me with the melody and not sing it? Not cool. Yes, that's my number 5.
I love it. I love it.
Your number 4.
All right, my number 4 is Bring My Baby Brother Home from Freaky Friday. Which is just like, I love it so much. And, you know, when I was making the Disney podcast, they were doing, we did a Freaky Friday episode, and they were out at La Jolla. So I was like, put me on a plane, let me go out there and interview them. And it was Heidi Blickenstaff and Emma Hunton, who played the mother-daughter. And somebody else did it. Another actor did the actual interview, and then I produced the episode. But of course, I hadn't seen it, and they sent me the music. I think it was before the album was even out. The music was written by Brian Yorkie and Tom Kitt, who are Pulitzer Prize winners for like Next to Normal. They're geniuses. And there was this whole section where they were talking about this song, Bring My Baby Brother Home, and how it almost didn't make it into the show. They didn't know if they needed a song there, and then they sort of like wrote this song, and this song is insane. These two Broadway skreltresses just like belting their faces off for this song. It's really like, especially the end of this song where they're both just singing together. It's incredible. I don't know how anybody does this 8 times a week.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, I know very little to nothing about the I've never even seen the films.
Yeah, me either. No, me either.
But I knew it was playing at La Jolla. Now I believe I've talked about this on the show. They're doing it as a TV movie musical.
Oh, I don't know anything about that. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think Disney. I can't remember if it's for Disney Channel or what, but they're remaking Freaky Friday and they're doing it as their musical.
Oh, that's great.
I think it's very smart because, like, it was a show. It's like, this isn't going to Broadway, but obviously they want to license it out. And I'm like, okay, the more people that know this, the better it is for licensing. So, and
it's also like Disney's first true rock musical. Like it very much is rock music, and it's really, if you don't know the album, go listen to it. It's like Heidi Blickenstaff is a Broadway treasure from, like, you know, title of the show, and that show that you saw, Something Rotten. She originated the wife role on Broadway, and she's incredible. She has just the most amazing voice. She can do things that you just can't believe. And Emma Hunton too. She's from Wicked, and, you know, just check it out. The music is so great.
Now, interestingly enough, my number 4 also originated at the La Jolla Playhouse.
Ooh.
And this is Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Which was one of the greatest theatrical productions I've ever seen in my entire life.
Whatever happened to that? Why didn't it come to Broadway?
So the story that I hear is that, so it did La Jolla and then it did Paper Mill, I believe, right?
Yep.
It did Paper Mill. The story that I hear that the reason it never went to Broadway is because the production as it was, there is a chorus on stage the entire show. A large chorus. And from what I understand, the rules, you know, at La Jolla and Paper Mill was they could use non-equity people. Oh. But to go to Broadway with it, it would have had to be an entirely equity cast, and it just would not have been affordable.
Oh, Disney, you can afford it. Come on, don't give me that, Disney.
That's how I feel. And listen, that's the story I hear. I don't know if that's the official story. Maybe someday when I have Tom Schumacher on the show, I will ask him that very question.
Oh my God, Tom Schumacher is the funniest human being on the face of the planet.
I met him at that Newsies live taping. He came down because, like, the reason I ended up in the front row of that is because I was, like, waited outside for 12 hours. So he just, like, came by to say thanks for being awesome fansies, and I was like, oh my god, you're Tom Schumacher.
Oh my god, he is. I mean, that the interview that I did with Tom is one of the greatest in my memory. I mean, he was just a whip smart and so funny and just incredible. What a great interview. When you do get him on your show, you will have the best time.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried in the past and I've gotten close. And actually, funny little story here. The reason they ended up denying it is because your Disney on Broadway podcast was premiering like that same week.
Oh, no way. Oh, my goodness. I'm so sorry.
No, don't feel bad. But it was funny. Like, that was the reason they gave. They're like, well, we have our podcast launching. And I was like, all right, I'll try again later.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, he'll do it now, I'm sure.
He's amazing. And,
he is.
like, I think he's a genius.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Didn't he just become the head of, the president of some big theater, some theater organization in New York?
Oh, I don't know.
Can't even remember, but he just became, not of Equity. I can't remember. I'm totally blanking. But I always say him and Oprah Winfrey have the best glasses collection of all time.
Oh my goodness, his glasses. And his office at the Disney Theatrical offices, they're above the New Amsterdam Theater. His office is just all glass. It's just like this big glass box with a big like grand piano. I mean, he's just like the epitome of fabulousness.
That's interesting because that's how John Lasseter's office is/was at Walt Disney Animation.
Oh, funny.
It was a glass box full of toys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
And what's the song?
The song is Hellfire.
I don't know it. I don't know that show at all.
Are you not familiar with the animated film?
No, I'm not.
Oh, Patrick,
you
are doing yourself a disservice.
I'll have to. I have a 4-year-old now, so I'll have to check it out.
You need to. Well, it's a dark
is it
movie?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
But get yourself the original cast album because luckily, so the show never did go to Broadway, which, as I said, like, honestly, if that had gone to Broadway, Patrick Page, who plays Frollo and sings Hellfire, who we interviewed on Disney Coast to Coast, by the way, episode 144, if you want to check that out. He's
amazing. Great guy.
He's phenomenal. Yeah. And, he would have won a Tony, like, hands down.
Well, the star of it was Michael Arden, who is like Michael is like a fancy director now. So the new revival of Once on This Island, that's probably going to win the Tony for Best Revival. Michael directed, and he directed the Deaf West production of Spring Awakening that was on Broadway a few seasons ago that we did a Broadway backstory episode about. So he's just a jack of all trades. He's a genius.
You sincerely, you need to get your hands on the cast album of that show because even though it never went to Broadway, like, I was just so happy that they at least made a cast album because God, that was on repeat for a long time in my car.
Yes, well, I will get it for sure.
Yeah, and then you'll let me know what you think. It's
I
so
will.
Good. Hellfire is such a dark song. It's about his obsession with Esmeralda. And basically it's like, you'll either be mine or you're gonna die. I will kill you.
Everyone settle down.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Funny. Oh, we're getting into the top 3
I know.
songs. Number 3, what do you have?
All right, no question. I couldn't figure out exactly where this was going to be, but Every Story is a Love Story from Aida. Opening number. Okay. I love an opening number. I also love the opening number to Freaky Friday. It's incredible. But the thing that's so amazing about this song is that when you come into the theater, the curtain was up. And you see like a I don't even know, like a person in a case, but like their back is facing the audience. It just looks like a set piece. And as the music starts,
like a museum.
Yeah, like a museum. And when the music starts, that thing turns around, and you're like, oh my God, that's a person, and it's Sherry Renee Scott singing this opening number, which is this beautiful sort of like prologue to what you're about to see. And then it like changes, and all of a sudden she's like belting the last, like, I don't know, 28 bars of the song, just about like what you're about to watch. And that's another one that I used to just listen to on repeat, just over and over, because for Sherry Renee Scott fans, you got both. You got her beautiful ballad voice, and then also her like incredible rocker belt. It was just amazing song.
I worked a production of that. Do you know North Shore Music Theater?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. I worked a production of that there, and Janine LaManna played that role.
I don't know her.
From Seussical the Musical. She was Gertrude McFuzz.
Very good, very good.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's So you said the curtain was up when the show starts?
My memory is that the curtain, but maybe I'm wrong. No, now that I remember the curtain coming up, and I also the thing that I love about this opening number too is that it was a museum, right? And it was like, look, it was meant to be like the Met or something, and so it's like smart, like smart people, like chorus people, like looking at paintings. And I remember there was a lesbian couple, and I remember thinking like, ooh, Disney, so cutting edge. They like held hands and walked across the stage. I was like, lesbians exit stage left. It was great.
And we're still dealing with that today in 2018.
I know.
Oh, goodness. My number 3 comes from my favorite, one of my absolute favorite Broadway musicals, and that's from Newsies. And it's the song "Watch What Happens."
Oh yeah,
Cara Lindsay's performance.
That was almost on my list. That was really, we almost had one crossover. That was almost on my list.
So "Watch What Happens" is that she plays the reporter and she's singing this song about how this is her big break and she can't mess this up because women aren't allowed to be telling these types of stories in the paper, and it's the thing that with this song, usually when you go see, I feel like a Disney on Broadway musical, you're gonna leave the theater. Yeah, there's new songs and they're beautiful and they're wonderful, but the ones you usually leave the theater humming are still the songs that you know from the movies.
Yeah, totally.
At least in my opinion.
Yeah. It's funny, I'm singing this song in my head right now as you're talking about it.
Yes. With Newsies, "Watch What Happens" has become like an official Newsies song, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like that's when you say Newsies, I think "Watch What Happens."
Yeah.
And it's just, not only is it like a great song, but it's also an impressive feat to see somebody perform that song. And one of the greatest things that came out of the Newsies live taping that you can now see, I think, is it still on Netflix?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
May or may not be on Netflix. At the very least, you buy it on iTunes and stuff. But Cara Lindsay's performance in that show is so subtle at some points that she should do some film acting because
she's a great actor. Yeah.
Yeah, she's got some really nice moments that like the camera captured in that live taping that sitting in the theater you're not necessarily going to catch unless you're super close. So "Watch What Happens" is one of my
so
favorites.
good. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Number 2.
Uh-huh.
All right, I'm cheating a little bit with this one. This one's a little bit of a cheat.
I already cheated once, so it's okay.
It's carrying the banner from Newsies, but it's from the movie. And I'll tell you why. Now, when I will never forget seeing, I saw this in the movie theater. It ran for like, a week or whatever. And I was obsessed with the actress who played Patrick's mother. Do you know what I'm talking about? There's a part where they're like carrying the banner and then they go to the nuns and then all of a sudden like this woman is with the purest, most incredible voice is singing this song, this piece of the song about like missing her son Patrick and she just wants him to come home. And she is belting. I mean, it is unbelievable. And it wasn't in the show. And that was one of my biggest things that I remember about seeing the show is that part is cut out. And I've since learned that Alan Menken wishes he had kept it because it's the one thing he says everybody asks him, like, why isn't that in the show? If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go to iTunes, download Carrying the Banner from the movie. The actress's name is Joanne Harris. And it is, I mean, from my youth, it is still to this day one of my greatest, most favorite pieces of like vocal anything on film or on stage.
It is really phenomenal, but here's the thing. If they had kept that in the musical, it would never live up to your memory.
It's true.
That.
I mean, I could name 10 Broadway actresses right now that I think could just knock that out of the park, but I'm sure you're right. I mean, it's just like, I don't know why this woman never came to Broadway. I looked her up a little bit today. There's not much information about her. She's not credited in the movie. If you go to IMDb, she's not credited. Wow. Yeah. And it's funny, like I searched the Broadway chat boards and of course all the gays are like, it's Joanne Harris. Like everybody did the research because we're all obsessed with her. But I don't know why she didn't do more singing. She's incredible.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's funny because Newsies is one of those shows, of course, when it goes from movie to stage, very often the lyrics are changed.
Yeah.
And it's always jarring. you end up getting used to it, and sometimes you prefer the stage lyrics, sometimes you prefer the movie. With Newsies, I've really fallen in love with the stage lyrics.
Yeah.
But I do get what you're saying. That is a memorable moment in the film.
I just loved it. So, when I was like a little 11-year-old kid, I would just like sing that at the top of my lungs, like the little queen that I was.
I just heard a story recently that might make, it's been pretty well documented that like Christian Bale does not like to talk about Newsies.
Christian, take a seat, sir, please.
Well, I heard something in a podcast recently that kind of is the opposite of that, where I was listening to an interview with Bill Pullman.
Oh my goodness, the Cara Lindsay of the movie.
Yes, exactly. So he's in the movie and he's playing the reporter, and he was doing a movie with Christian Bale. What the movie was, I have no idea. But from what I understand, Christian Bale was in a lot of makeup for this film. And I guess the first time that Bill Pullman saw Christian in the makeup, he didn't recognize him.
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden, Christian broke into Santa Fe.
Oh my goodness! And like all the gay PAs fainted at the same time. There was just like a mass body drop of like all the gay PAs.
It's like, why did somebody not catch that on video? Like,
it's funny, like, this is a nice podcast. I can tell you're all very nice people. But like, I just have to say, Christian Bale is a person I never need to meet. I do not ever need to meet Christian Bale.
Yeah, there's quite a few of those that it's true. There's some people that like really want to talk about their history, and here's the thing, like I get it to a point. Who wants to talk about the same thing over and over again? And
I
let's
feel like
face it,
6 people in his life have asked him about Newsies. Like his mother never even asked him about it.
I don't know about that. The Newsy fan base is pretty intense.
Well, yeah, you're right, and you can see that because it's why it came to Broadway, and they never ever thought that it would.
Yeah, that's a conversation I want to have with Tom Schumacher.
Yes.
It's just like, how could you not think that this was going to be massive?
I know.
It's so, God, it's been begging to be put on stage. And honestly, they couldn't have done it better, which is like, it was worth the wait because everything lined up perfectly. And I could go on.
We could just talk about this for 7 hours.
Frankly, I've done that a lot on this show. We've talked about Newsies a ton, but it's phenomenal. Yeah. Anyway, my number 2 is so random. I don't even know if you'll know it. King David?
I don't know it.
Okay,
what's it from?
The show is King David.
Oh my God! There's like a Disney show that people don't know.
Alan Menken and Tim Rice, and this was a show that I think the movie premiere of Hercules might have opened the New Amsterdam Theater for them or reopened it.
Okay.
But right after that, they did a limited run. It was either one night only or like a week run, something like that, of an Alan Menken, Tim Rice musical called King David.
What?
With some of the greatest Alan Menken music you will ever hear. And there is a song in it called Never Again, sung by, tell me the pronunciation of this name because I never know. Is it Judy Kuhn or Kuhn?
Judy Kuhn.
Kuhn.
Yeah,
okay.
She is a legend, and she's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Disney fans know her as the singing voice of Pocahontas.
Yeah, of course.
Judy Kuhn's performance of this song, Never Again, from King David, will knock you off your feet. It is so beautifully performed, and it's a love song. It's
you have to have Judy on your podcast. Have you ever had her on your podcast?
I've never had her on. No.
Oh, you have to. I'll connect you guys. She could talk about this stuff forever.
Oh, please do.
Yeah.
Because I will say I'm like in love with this song, Never Again. And I'm trying to think how I discovered King David. I feel like I heard Alan Menken mention it in an interview or something. And by the way, I'm going to jump back to something in a minute about Alan Menken. But you need to, if you go, I don't think there's an album available for King David. But if you go to YouTube and you type in King David original cast album or King David Alan Menken or whatever, you will get the entire score in a very, very good quality recording. Listen to the whole thing because it's brilliant. But start off with Never Again. With Judy Kuhn.
Oh, God, I love her. I'm obsessed with Judy Kuhn.
And the string orchestrations in that number. Oh, my God. I'm getting like... You know, when I was putting this list together, I literally just kept smiling and smiling.
I was crying.
smiling.
I was listening. I was going through listening to the song. When I was listening to Not Me from Aida, I was bawling. I was like, oh my God. It just like brought me back to my early 20s. And yeah, I mean, you know, the music is chemically engineered to make you sob, but it's amazing.
Yeah, I do want to hop back because I meant to mention this when you mentioned the Refuge song from Newsies. Have you seen the creation of that song?
No. No, I don't think I have.
Okay, so
no, I'm lying. It's on YouTube, right?
Yes.
Yes, I think I did watch this.
So Tom Schumacher hosted Anatomy of a Song, which was some show, some theater show. I'm not exactly sure what it's connected to, but if you type in Alan Menken Anatomy of a Song, it's about a 45-minute thing where it's Tom Schumacher interviewing Alan Menken, and at some point they bring out Jack. What's the lyricist's name from Newsies?
Oh, Jack. Oh, I can't think of his name now either.
Is it Jack Feldman or is that somebody
I think
else?
You're right. I think it is Jack Feldman. Yeah.
They bring him out and they say, hey, let's just, we want to see your creative process, which me watching a genius be creative in their process, that is like heaven for me.
Yeah.
So they basically decide they're going to write this song for Crutchy. And that's where the song from The Refuge was born, was right there on camera.
Oh, so, isn't that the best when you get to see that happen?
And there's this beautiful, beautiful moment in there. It's toward the end of the interview if anybody wants to check this out. But there's this beautiful moment where Alan Menken gets excited, which for me, it was like, oh my goodness, this man who's been doing this for decades is still getting excited about this stuff. And he goes, oh my goodness, do I have a recorder? Like he just wanted to sit and record what he was doing. Yeah. And then he had the realization of, oh, this is all being recorded. but it's a goodness for that song on the, what number was that? Was that like number 5 for you, I think?
The Letter from the Refuge, number 5. Yep.
Yeah, number 5 for you. It's worth checking out. Anatomy of a Song, Alan Menken. Go to YouTube, check out that.
Oh my God, I love
phenomenal. Anyway, back to the list. I think we're at your number 1.
I want you to guess. I bet you can guess it.
I'm wondering if we have the same number 1.
No, I doubt it.
Okay. Then it's probably from Aida. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Aida. Written in the Stars. Is it a Sherry song?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know the titles of the songs.
I'm very impressed that you were able to narrow it down to that so quickly.
So Aida, Sherry, is it? It's the song toward the end. Oh, how have I come to this?
Oh, I love that song, but it's not that. I love that song, but it's not that. It's Strongest Suit.
Oh God.
I remember, I don't remember who I saw it with, but I remember whoever I was with clutching their arms for life support because I was like, this song is going to kill me. I was screaming. If I could have done that thing at a drag show where you take a white handkerchief and just like you wave it in the air, like I surrender. I mean, it is when you proposed this idea as like what we would do for our episode, I was like, oh my, I just started with Strongest Suit and worked backwards.
I had a similar way of doing things, but mine is not Strongest Suit. I just call that the Elton John fashion show.
Oh, God, it's so good. But it's like Sharon A. Scott is just like belting, and it's just amazing. Like, you actually really do learn about her character, and because, like, you know, she's so, like, fashionable, and all she cares about is clothes, and she's really superficial, and she totally, by the end, that song that you were just singing, she totally has grown. I mean, it really shows, like, that character really shows, I think, like, Disney, their ability to really create real characters. But Strongest Suit, I mean, talk about going to the gym and getting on the elliptical and just going for an hour, like just on repeat. I am obsessed with that song.
That's so funny. That song at the end, you just like reminded me of it. I was like, wow, that really is a good song.
Oh, it's so good.
Where they're like prepping her for her wedding, I believe. And,
yep.
Oh, good stuff. Well, now, since we're playing this game, let's see how well you know me. What do you think my number 1 is?
All right, I'm for sure not going to get the song, but I'm thinking it's from Newsies.
That's correct.
And
you can get the song.
Is it Seize the Day?
Nope.
Is it a Jack song?
Of course.
Oh, is it Santa Fe?
It's Santa Fe.
Yeah, God, I can't believe I got it. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Santa Fe.
Yeah.
Jeremy Jordan has one of the most beautiful voices.
Yes. Oh, yes.
On the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Now, this is a song. Now, you were saying you prefer the movie version of Carrying the Banner.
Yes.
In this case, I feel like Santa Fe was plussed so much for the Broadway production. It's always been a beautiful song. It's always had a weird dance break in the middle.
Are you kidding? I live for that dance break. I'm obsessed with it.
And I get that, and I was honestly very surprised that it was cut from the Broadway show. But I think it in the moment where it is, it wouldn't have made sense. But I do feel like the song in general was just plussed so much because they had, a real singer singing it on Broadway.
Yeah. It's also like the first notes you hear in the show in the very beginning. Or at least it was when I saw it.
Yeah. It's you're right. It starts. There's like a short version of Santa Fe at the beginning. The version I'm talking about is the one that ends Act 1.
Yeah.
Very, very, very powerful, wonderful song, and that's my number one.
I love it.
So I am in a little bit of shock that we had zero crossover.
That is so funny. I mean, I'll tell you a secret. Like, I'm not a huge Disney aficionado. Like, when I was sort of like, I guess I should re-listen to Tarzan and see if there's anything I loved. I should re-listen to Beauty and the Beast and see if there's anything. Like, I kind of have my Disney shows that I love, and I knew they were going to all sort of come from there. But, like, I'm just that gay. I'm just that gay who wants, like, the diva ladies, like, screaming, singing, and, like, I love that stuff.
I love it. Well, you know what? I've got honestly, so the way that I did this was I kind of just thought through the shows, or I looked at a list of the shows, and I just wrote down every song that I'm like, oh, I love this, I love this, I love this.
Yeah.
I ended up coming up with a list of 20. And narrowed it down. I have a whole other top 10. Would you like to come back and do this again, or should I just
No, I'd love to. I want to do this again, because I'm going to now take your advice and re-listen to the show. I'm going to listen to the Hunchback of Notre Dame. I'm going to re-listen to Beauty and the Beast. And let's do this again.
King David.
And I'll totally listen to King David, and we'll totally do this. I would love to do this again.
Okay, so we're going to have another top 10 then. This is fantastic. For everybody listening, I want you guys to join the conversation on YouTube. Leave a comment. I want to know, what's your favorite song from a Disney theatrical production? I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. And hopefully, I think that we gave straight lists because obviously there are some of the obvious ones, but I also feel like there's little nuggets of treasures here that hopefully people listening will go out and check out themselves. Okay, guys, that is our list. So, of course, that means
it's trivia time!
Okay, Patrick, do you want to hit me with a question first, or shall I hit you?
I'll go first. I have a question. Here's my question.
Okay.
Can you tell me the connection between Hamilton and Newsies?
Oh my goodness. Okay, I've never seen Hamilton.
It's not plot-wise. How did? Okay, let me think of a better way to ask this question. Hamilton is on Broadway because of somebody who was associated with Newsies. Do you know who that is?
Let me think. Okay, I don't believe it was Jeff Calhoun. I don't think Lin-Manuel had anything to do with Newsies. Jeffrey Sellers has nothing to do with Newsies.
You're getting close. I'm impressed.
I don't think Harvey Fierstein was involved with Hamilton. I'm thinking of the big names involved. Would it have something to do with Schumacher?
No. So it actually comes from the Newsies movie. So David Moscow, who played David in the movie, was good friends with Lin-Manuel Miranda. When Lin moved back to New York City after college, Lin was producing a show called In the Heights in the basement theater of the Drama Bookshop, where David Moscow invited his friend, producer Jill Furman, to come and see the show. Jill Furman immediately fell in love with Lin and quickly introduced Lin to her producing partner, Jeffrey Seller, and the rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. The theater community is a very, very, very small world.
It is.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So my question for you is this. At one time, what is the most amount of shows that Disney ever had running on Broadway?
That's a really good question. I think I know the answer to this. So I want to say they had... I want to say at the same time they had like Lion King, Mary Poppins, Beauty and the Beast. Was it 3?
So 3 is the number I believe is true. If this is wrong, somebody will write in and let me know. But so I remember the first trio was Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, and Aida.
Yes.
And then since then, it seems to have always been somewhere between 3 and 2. So right now we've got Aladdin and Lion King.
Yep.
At one point, I think it might have been Mary Poppins, Lion King, and maybe Beauty and the Beast.
Mary Poppins, Lion King. Yeah, maybe. But you're right. You're right about this.
I don't think they've ever hit 4, though. Trying to think. With Tarzan, Beauty and the Beast would have been running, and Lion King would have been running.
Oh, right, there's Newsies. So, like, Newsies, Aladdin, and
Lion King.
And Lion King, yep.
Yeah. But even at some point, I think it was just Newsies, Lion King. I think at some point. So, yeah, I don't think it ever went beyond 3. So, 3...
Hey, good on you, Disney. That's still pretty good.
It's amazing when I think of that. When I just think of, like, oh, Alan Menken has 3 shows running at one point. For a very short period, he had, what was it? Oh, goodness. Putting myself in the spot. I think Sister Act, Beauty and the Beast, and Leap of Faith, or that.
Oh, yeah.
As far as
right.
I think it was those 3. But yeah, and what, Weber recently had 4.
Oh, yeah. He's always got.
Andrew Lloyd Webber had Phantom, Cats, Sunset Boulevard, and School of Rock running at the same time.
Yeah, totally.
I'm like, that is unbelievable.
Like, that guy needs more money. Come on, Andrew.
Yeah, crazy. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for joining. Patrick, of course, I want to make sure people know where they can find you before we get going here.
Yep.
So why don't you hit that up?
God, I'm all over the place. But basically, what I want you to know is I make 3 podcasts. I make Theater People, which is all about, interviews with Tony winners, Broadway legends, and today's brightest theater stars. Broadway Backstory, the documentary podcast, and my new true crime comedy podcast, which is called True Crime Obsessed, which I make with Jillian Pensavalle of the Hamilcast, if you guys are Hamilton fans. And check us out. We're making really good stuff, and you can find all those podcasts wherever you get your podcasts.
It is very high quality stuff, so I highly suggest you guys check out all of that. Guys, of course, for Disney Coast to Coast, it's always appreciated if you could rate and review us on iTunes. It helps Disney fans find the show, so go to iTunes, leave us a 5-star review on there. Also, our social media, Twitter, Instagram, all of that stuff can be found at DisneyCoastToCoast.com. We now have a Patreon page where you can get bonuses from Disney Coast to Coast, and don't forget, this Sunday there'll be a brand new House of Mouse headlines with the latest Disney news. Patrick, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was so much fun. I'm excited you're going to come back for another list. We'll do that in a couple months.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for having me. This was such a good time.
Excellent. Well, have a great day. And guys, I'll have a magical day, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching Disney Coast to Coast. Have a magical day.
Disney Coast to Coast is produced and hosted by Jeff DePaoli. Learn more about the podcast and become a supporter at DisneyCoastToCoast.com.